Hello, how's it going? So today I want to talk to you about binge eating. I want to talk about the psychological and the physical causes of binge eating, and I also want to give you some practical steps and solutions that you can take in your own life in order to make this problem go away. I used to deal with binge eating for quite a few years, and I'm so happy to say that this behavior is no longer present in my life. So I just wanted to make this video to share my insights and experiences with you. So hopefully it'll give you some clicks and maybe even help you overcome this problem yourself. All right, so from my own experience with binge eating and from talking to so many other people who have also dealt with this, I've come to the conclusion that there's three main causes of binge eating. And I also want to make it clear that for like 99% of the people out there who have binge eating behavior, it's never just one cause. It's always usually two or three or all three of the reasons combined. So just keep that in mind when listening to this video. Okay, so the first cause of binge eating that I want to talk about is intentional or unintentional restriction in your diet. So with this, I mean either calories and also macronutrients. So if you're either restricting your calories, if you're intentionally eating less than you need on a daily basis or a regular basis, you know, for an extended period of time, or if you're limiting a certain type of macronutrient, you could be eating, you know, the right amount of calories for your energy needs for your body. But if you're restricting certain macronutrients, so say for example you've been on a ketogenic diet and you're restricting your carbs, or maybe you're on a high carb diet and you're restricting your fats, even though you're eating the correct amount of calories, you're still restricting a major macronutrient. And so that is also a form of restriction. So it's either caloric restriction or macronutrient restriction. The second main reason why you might be experiencing binge eating is more of a emotional, psychological cause. And it's usually caused by either like boredom, loneliness, feeling a lack of connection with yourself, lack of connection with others, anxiety, depression. These kinds of things are rampant in people who binge eat. And the third main cause of binge eating, which I think is slightly less relevant for the people who watch my videos, because you guys who watch my videos are all very health conscious, and I know that you try to really eat the most nutrient dense and healthy diet for your body, right? Like I'm assuming most of you do, but maybe some of you are eating a junk food diet, I'm not sure. But if you're eating a lot of processed foods, you can also be restricting your micronutrients. So if you're eating a lot of like junk food, processed food, animal products, just stuff with, you know, not very much nutritional value, you might be eating the right amount of calories, or you're probably even eating too many calories, but your body isn't getting the essential nutrients, the minerals and the vitamins that it needs. And so it's still continuing to send a signal to your brain that is saying, eat more because I haven't gotten what I needed. So those are the three main causes of binging, and now I want to talk about all three of those causes in more detail and also give you some practical solutions and tips that you can incorporate into your own life to hopefully move past this binging behavior. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about the first reason, and that one again was either restricting calories or macronutrients. So let's first of all let's discuss what restricting calories or macronutrients does to your body. So your body is so intelligent, and it is it's like this miracle that exists to help you experience life and to thrive. But if you don't give it what it needs, if its basic needs are not met, you go from, you know, thrive mode, you get downshifted into survival mode. You know, if you're going about your life, you're treating your body right, you're giving it what it needs, you're eating enough, you're eating enough of the right foods, your body is happy to let you control your life and what you're doing. But if it starts to get the sense that its survival is being threatened by, i.e., you know, lack of nutrients, lack of food, it is gonna actually take over and take control of your behavior. And this is exactly what binge eating is. Binge eating is a response by your body, a survival instinct to this like restriction that you're imposing on it. It's like your body's backlash to you not eating enough or not eating enough of the right foods. You know, when you're in the midst of a binge and you just feel like you're like possessed and you can't control what's happening, and you just keep going and you just keep eating even though your mind is telling you like, hey, stop, like what are you doing? This isn't necessary, you don't even want this. Meanwhile, like there's like something in you that you just can't stop, right? That is your body's survival instinct, you know, like full force, making sure that it doesn't die. The ironic thing is that when you're in this cycle of binging, it's so easy to see your body as the enemy, to see your body as this separate thing that's trying to sabotage you and keep you from your goals of, you know, like weight loss or whatever it is. But it's so important to realize that your body is actually just trying to keep you alive by this binging behavior. It's literally on your side, and your body, it really wants nothing more than for you to just thrive and be healthy. But it can't do that if it's just not even meeting the minimum requirements that it needs, you know, that it has in order to survive. I think that the most important mental shift that we all need to make is we need to shift from thinking that our bodies are, you know, our enemy, or that they're, you know, plotting against us, or that they're just not cooperating, to realizing that our bodies are so incredibly intelligent, and that our body is on our side. Our body is so innately wise. I mean, it doesn't even matter what you believe, like if you believe God created our bodies or if you think it's a product of evolution. Either way, it's just like this miraculous, massive intelligence that, I mean, you can't, if you think about it logically, you cannot deny how intelligent our body is. So why not just trust it? Why not shift to that trusting state? The first step in overcoming binge eating behavior is to make the conscious decision to trust that your body is for you and not against you, to trust that it is looking out for you, and to trust that your body wants to thrive and that it wants to be at its ideal weight. All right, so let's assume that you've made the wise decision to trust your body. Now what? What are you supposed to do? Okay, so obviously you need to stop restricting yourself, whether it be either calorie restriction or macronutrient restriction. So if you're like, okay, well, I don't even know how much I'm supposed to eat, like, what do I do? Well, I've made a video talking about how to figure out how many calories you should be eating, and I'll leave a link to it here. And so definitely go watch that. And also, if you're kind of like wondering, well, like how many carbs, how many grams of fats, or like what percentage of fats, proteins, and carbs should I be eating? I made a video talking about that as well. It's called How Much Fat Should You Eat? But you could substitute, you know, carbs or protein into that title. It's not really about fat. It's just like how to know like how much of what to eat. And I will leave a link for that here. All right, so let's assume that you've made the commitment to trust your body. You've figured out how many calories you need to be feeding it every day, and you've made the commitment to do that on a consistent basis. So there's still going to be some negative residual thought patterns that come up during this process, and I just want to share with you how I personally dealt with those. All right, so let's say that you've made the commitment to trust your body, you've figured out how many calories that you need to be feeding yourself every day on a consistent basis to make your body thrive, and you've committed to actually doing that, and you're doing it. You're probably gonna still have some negative, reoccurring, residual thought patterns that come up, and I just wanna share my experience with you of how I personally dealt with those. At the beginning of this process, I almost every day, all the time, had these thoughts that would come into my head and say things like, oh, Christine, well, you had this many calories at breakfast or this many calories at lunch, so you better have a smaller dinner. or, well, that was a really fatty meal, so you better not eat any fats tomorrow. And I would still have all of these kind of like judgy voices coming into my head, trying to control and trying to restrict, because there was still part of me that, like, even though I had made the commitment to trust my body, I had been in this pattern of not trusting it for so long that it was kind of like just a conditioned reflex that I couldn't really control, you know, because trusting your body, it doesn't just happen like right away overnight. You have to continuously work at it. You have to continuously reinforce to yourself that you trust your body. It's not that like you decide, okay, now I trust my body and everything's like, woo, hunky-dory. It's like, no, you're still gonna have these like negative restrictive thoughts. They're gonna come up, but you just need to know how to deal with them and move past them. So this is what I would do. Whenever I would have a negative thought come up, which would be telling me to restrict, or restrict in any way, whether it be like fats or calories, you know, I had made the commitment to not listen to that voice, but that voice was still coming up and affecting me. So whenever that voice would come up, I would recognize the voice. I would thank the voice for, you know, trying to help me, because I created that voice because of a positive intention. So obviously, restricting isn't a positive thing, but the positive intention behind my restriction was because I wanted to look a certain way, so that I would feel a certain way, so that I would, you know, be loved by other people or whatever. Like, I'm sure you know what I mean, right? So there was a positive intention behind the negative voice. So what I would do is I would recognize the positive intention behind the negative voice. I would say, thank you, I hear you, I don't need you to tell me that anymore. I'm trusting my body, and I hear you, but if I am hungry, I will eat. So whenever I would have that voice say something like, well, you had a really big lunch, so you better not eat later, I would tell myself, okay, I hear you, but, and this is what I would tell my body. I would tell my body, yes, if you are hungry, you will get fed. If I'm hungry, I will feed you. And I would just repeat that to myself over and over. If you consistently give your body what it needs physically, as in food, and you consistently send your body the message mentally also that if it is hungry, it will get fed, it will start to relax. And when it starts to relax, that is when the binging will stop. Because if it's starting to relax, that means it's no longer in survival mode. And if you remember, binging is basically a symptom of being in survival mode. Your body's like, oh my God, we're gonna die. We better like take control and just binge the F out, because we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. But once you take your body out of that state and relax it, the binging, or the impulse to binge, will just completely diminish. I also just want to talk very briefly about the concept of metabolic damage, and, you know, whether it's real and how to heal it. Because I know a lot of us in the fitness community or in the vegan community, we hear a lot about metabolic damage and how it can take years to heal and all that kind of thing. And I have to disagree with the idea that it takes years to heal metabolic damage. First of all, I think metabolic damage, if it really exists, it can be reversed in, you know, a few weeks to a few months. I really think that metabolic damage, if you're feeding yourself consistent calories with a balanced macronutrient split, so you're not restricting any macronutrient, and you have positive mental talk to yourself, like, you know, what I just talked about, telling yourself that if you're hungry, that you will be fed, and, you know, not listening, not validating or acting upon those restrictive thought patterns. If you're doing these things consistently, then any kind of like damage to, or like slowing down that your metabolism may have done, your metabolism may have adapted to lower calories, yes, But if you're consistently doing the things I just mentioned, it's gonna heal. It's gonna bounce back within a few weeks to a few months. I want to say I promise, but like I can't promise anything, but like that's been my experience, and that's been the experience of a lot of other people I talk to. So if you're just like on the verge of like wanting to eat more calories, eating the right amount for your body, but you're just so terrified because you think that it's going to be years before you actually lose the weight that you're gonna like gain because your metabolism is slightly slowed down, like let me just dissipate those fears like right now. Like that is not going to happen. Yes, you may gain a little bit of weight if you're coming from a background of, you know, pretty severe caloric restriction, but like I said, it's gonna even out very quickly as long as you're feeding yourself the right foods, which I'll talk about at the end of this video, the right foods, the right amounts of foods, etc. The body is so incredible, and it's not gonna take years to fix your damaged metabolism. And you know what? Your metabolism isn't damaged. It may have slowed down a little bit, but you can speed it right back up. And really, when people say metabolic damage, I think metabolic damage is really mostly psychological damage. It's not our bodies that are messed up. It's mostly our minds that just get so screwed up with this whole dieting process. Okay, so now I want to talk about the emotional and psychological causes of binge eating. So in the first topic that we talked about, binge eating was caused by a lack of something physical, like physical sustenance. But binge eating can also be caused by lack of, something emotional. Binging is always like the act of taking something in, stuffing something in. It's because there's a lack, there's a void of, a void within us that we're trying to fill. And sometimes we mistakenly try to fill that with food. So I think that for a normal, healthy, well-adjusted person who doesn't have eating disorder, doesn't suffer from trying to be perfect all the time, or doesn't have lack of self-worth issues, they might like bored eat a little bit, but it's not gonna be to the same like severity, the same kind of like out of control, crazy binges that someone with exercise addiction or an eating disorder or something like that deals with. So I know they say that a lot of people say that there is no such thing as emotional eating, but I have to disagree with that, because in my experience, things like isolating myself, loneliness, boredom, lack of self-love, depression, those were all fuel for my binge eating. And those things were all like fuel for like restricting myself as well. So you can see how they're all it's all very like interrelated. It's coming from the same source. It's coming from the desire. It's coming to be perfect. It's coming from the feeling that something is wrong with us and we want to be better and that we're not good enough. It's all coming from that same place. The best piece of advice that I can give you in terms of the psychological and emotional causes of binge eating is to really just work on your self-love and your self-worth, because they are the entire root of this whole problem. Like you might think, oh, my problem is that, I need to lose weight, or my problem is that, I have this eating disorder. But the problem, it really isn't those things. The problem is that you don't love yourself. You don't think you're good enough. You think you're worthless. Like, sorry, I'm not saying that you think that. I'm just saying, I'm speaking from my own personal experience. That's how I felt in the past. And I just know for myself that thought pattern, that feeling, that was the source of all the negativity that came from that was the source of all the negativity that expressed itself as restriction, as binging, as just all this negative shit. So if there's anything that I can stress to you in this video, is that you just really need to commit to yourself to work on your self-love and increase your self-worth. And like, that is such a huge topic, and it's beyond the scope of this video. I just kind of like want to put that idea into your head right now. But what I can do is I'll link a video, one of the like kind of like the first videos that kind of like opened up my eyes and kind of got the ball rolling on my journey towards self-love and self-worth. It was this video by Teal Swan, and I'll just link it up here in case you haven't seen it. I think I've talked about it in other videos. It just kind of like started a little shift in me, and like, it's been a really long journey, but that was the beginning. So, and I'll put some other links to other channels in the description box, so you can just kind of check out the kind of people that I've been watching over the past couple of years that have really helped me as well. But really, you need to make the commitment to become your number one supporter. Like, I used to be my number one critic. I used to speak so terribly to myself. I used to just think I was a piece of shit. And I just like, one day I just like made the decision, well, it wasn't just in one day, but just repeatedly, I would just repeatedly tell myself that no matter what, I was gonna have my back. And despite all of my flaws, all my imperfections, all the things that are wrong with me, I'm still gonna be my number one supporter. And it doesn't matter what other people think. I'm here for myself, and that's enough. Nobody else can do this for you. And it's the most important thing that you can do, is to become your own biggest supporter despite all your flaws, instead of your biggest critic. I noticed that loneliness and isolating myself also really contributed to my binge eating, and some of my worst binges, or the worst times when I was like really deep in the binging cycle, was when I was living alone and when I was really isolating myself. So I went through a period of time after I broke up with my ex that I was very depressed. I was unhappy in my job. I was working my dental hygiene job, which I was doing it full time. I'm just doing it like once a week now, which is great. But I was doing it full time, and being an introvert, that job just like sucked the life out of me. Like having to, I just felt like I was giving a lot of energy, and it just like took a lot of energy for me to like interact with all these different people all day long. And it was also like physically demanding. And then when I would get home, I wouldn't want to talk to anybody. I wouldn't want to talk to anybody on the phone. I wouldn't want to go out, you know, nothing. I just like wanted to be alone. And I thought that I loved living alone, and that I wanted to live alone forever. Well, not forever, but I don't know. I just didn't want to have roommates or whatever. But now, living with Denise, and you know, the past year that I had experienced living with roommates, it just made me realize that we really are social creatures, and it's not healthy to isolate yourself like that. So maybe living with other people isn't an option for you, but as much as you can, try to, you know, like get out there and connect with people. And if you don't feel like you have people in your life that you really connect with on a deep level, then put that intention out there and, you know, let it come to you. You know, like, make the first move, pick up a new hobby, like take up a new sport, or even if you think you're gonna suck, like just try something new that you've always been curious about. You might meet some really good friends. You can meet people online. Like, just look under the comments of this video. I'm sure you'll find people who are going through the same thing as you that you could probably connect with and relate to. I've met so many beautiful souls through YouTube, just people who have reached out to me that resonate with my message and like what I have to say, and then I hear their story and I'm just like, ah, yes, I understand you and you understand me. And it's been so amazing connecting with people on that really genuine and authentic level. And I feel like if you have a lot of relationships in your life, but they're kind of like superficial and you're not really expressing yourself and your vulnerabilities and your feelings and like who you really are, it's like, yeah, you're not going to be nourished. You know, those relationships aren't going to nourish you. You really need to like find people that you can express yourself with, that you can be yourself with, that you really feel like you vibe with. So if that's lacking in your life, like make that a priority and address that situation. All right, so I feel like I've addressed the main issues that would be affecting the type of people who are watching my videos in regards to binge eating. But I also want to quickly talk about how eating a diet that is very processed and low in micronutrients and vitamins and minerals, how that can affect binging. So if you're the type of person who eats a lot of like processed packaged foods, a lot of like processed meats or animal products, or like even shit like Quest bars and just stuff that is not rich in vitamins and minerals, stuff that is not fresh fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, you know, beans, greens, all that, I already said it, all that good stuff. If you're eating a lot of like restaurant food, takeout, fast food, ready-made meals, stuff like that, you're almost 100% likely to be lacking in certain minerals and vitamins and micronutrients. And while you might be eating sufficient calories, you might be eating like more, you're probably actually eating more calories than you need if you're eating a diet like that. This can also lead to binging, probably not as severe as the caloric and macronutrient restriction, but it can still lead to binging because your body is still like crying out for more. It's saying like, hey, like, okay, you gave me 2,500 calories of junk, of calories, but where's the vitamin A? Where's the calcium? Where's the zinc? Where's this and that? You know, and so it's gonna not be satiated. Your body's just gonna be like, well, I didn't get this, so obviously you need to eat more, and it's just gonna cause overeating. And then, you know, what can also happen is once like you're overeating, then you're like, oh dang, I'm gaining weight. Now I need to go on a diet. Now I need to go on a crash diet. Now I need to restrict my calories to like 1,200 a day or whatever. And then it pushes you into the cycle of restricting your calories. So this is why it's so important to eat a whole foods, plant-based diet, because if you're eating a diet that is gonna, you know, like create micronutrient deficiencies, you're just setting yourself up for a future of having to restrict your calories to lose weight. I experienced a bit of this myself as well. Like before I went vegan, I was eating, you know, the typical gym rat diet, you know, like whey protein, Greek yogurt, protein bars, like trying to limit my carbs, eating lots of junk food. I would eat, lots of junk food. And I would notice that I would really have to restrict my calories and really like make myself be hungry in order to lose weight. Whereas now it's like, I definitely don't need to feel hungry to lose weight. Now it's like, if I wanted to lose weight, I would decrease my calories by like 100 to 200. So say if I'm eating around on average 2,400 calories a day, now if I wanted to lose weight eating a whole foods plant-based diet, I would like knock it down to like 2,100 calories a day and I would start losing weight. I would. Whereas in the past, if I would be eating that many calories, I would be either staying the same weight or maybe gaining. I wouldn't be able to lose weight unless I drastically cut my calories. So yeah, while it is super important to make sure you're eating enough calories, to make sure you're not restricting your fats or your carbs or your protein, it's also super, super important to make sure that the bulk, like 80% of your diet, is whole unprocessed plant foods. And yes, I don't want you to restrict yourself from having junk food once in a while, because like that's also not healthy to be like so pure and so like orthorexic. And so, I mean, sure, if you actually have no desire for junk food, then like by all means, like avoid it. But if you want to occasionally have junk food, please do have it, but have it be like 10% of your diet, not most of your diet. And if you're still kind of confused as to, you know, what the heck you should be eating when it comes to eating like whole unprocessed plant food, you know, I have a lot of what I eat in a day videos that you can check. And also I highly, highly recommend Dr. Greger's channel, nutritionfacts.org, and his book, How Not to Die, is amazing. I don't really follow any diet recommendations anymore, but I do loosely follow his guidelines and his suggestions, which, you know, recommend focusing on, you know, like greens, vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, grains, legumes, like beans, green, you know, all that stuff. Like that's what makes up my diet. And like I don't like follow any program or structure to a T or anything. I just, you know, keep in mind like, oh yeah, I should eat some berries today. Oh yeah, like I don't even have to like remind myself to eat berries and greens. But anyways, I highly recommend that book. I think it's available in an audiobook version, which is like my best, my favorite way to like go for walks and listen to audiobooks. So I highly recommend that. I'll put that, the link to that in the description as well. All right, I hope this long and kind of rambly video was helpful to you. If you have any questions or just need more clarification on any of the things that I talked about, I do one-off consultations via Skype as well as ongoing coaching. So if you feel like you're curious about that, if you might want more of my help, I do have some time slots available. You can email me at christinesalas@gmail.com. Otherwise, you can post any other, you know, if it's just a smaller question, post it in the comments. I could maybe make another video answering some more questions related to this stuff. So I sincerely hope that this video has helped you or helped you understand something in a different way. Maybe giving you some tips or just some steps that you can take. Yeah, because it sucks and I want you to get through it if this is something that you're suffering with as well, because when you come out on the other side, and I promise you can, it is just so liberating. And yeah, liberating is definitely the word that I would use to describe it. So yeah. Again, have a beautiful day. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video. Love you. Bye.